having a military base for your allies in your country is not a provocation.
Hello to all of the followers of the channel Rational Resistance. Today we are with Джордже Симеон. Am I saying it right?
Yes, you're saying it right. What's the name of the channel?
Rational Resistance.
We need rational people in Romania, in Bulgaria, across Europe, and I will follow your channel.
For the audience, I'm sure that you know, but Mr. Simion was elected as a president in Romania, and he even said that he won the elections.
We have a big problem with trust in elections and democracy in Romania. Mr. Călin Georgescu was supposed to be the president of Romania. They annulled the elections. They didn't have time to prepare a fraud. It was a total surprise in December 2024. Then we won with 41% of the votes against 21% the second round on the 4th May.
Which is a record, right?
Which is a record for the first round.
Mr. Duнгачу, a sociologist, professor in sociology, advisor of foreign policies and affairs of Mr. Джордже Симеон. What was the perception of the people in Romania after the elections that were won and then all of a sudden lost?
41% was unbelievable.
Yes.
Sociologically, was for me, I'm a sociologist, but it was a shock that Mr. Simion lost the elections. But this is what it is. But it's, I don't have a genuine
He really lost, in your opinion, or they made him lose them?
Yeah. Well, I mean, to put it this way, I don't have a sociological explanation why Mr. Simion lost the election. Sociologically speaking, it's difficult for me to understand. So maybe it could be other reasons.
We had a record number of votes in our favor in the second round, 5,300,000 votes for myself. We had all the predictions in front of us. The only variant they could beat 5,300,000 votes was to invent votes, was to invent voters. So they did at the May's elections, because they topped this with people that were going through the country or through our diaspora in Europe, and basically voting double, triple, basically illegally, because it's not legally to vote more than once. How do we know this? Usually at elections in Romania, presidential elections where you can vote everywhere, you have not more than 2 million people that are counted on the supplementary lists. Now we had 3 million.
For the first time?
Yes, for the first time this happens. Over 1 million.
You know, before the election, these famous presidential elections you mentioned, the political scene of Romania was very quiet. Romania was different from Hungary, was different from Poland. No right-wing parties, no populist, whatever, no MAGA type of reaction, political reaction. But that was a fake, because according to our surveys in 2018, 2019, 2020, 30-40% of the people have been associated with these type of values. But they didn't have a candidate, because the system in Romania was very careful not allowing these type of politicians to get in or to get mainstream. Mm-hmm. And it was a political decision, was a geopolitical decision. Romania was not very efficient country, economically speaking or politically speaking, but the way in which they tried to present themselves to the Europeans was that we are not Poland, we are not Hungary, we don't have Kaczynski, we don't have Viktor Orban. Our president, it's a ethnic president, was a German, not Romanian. So basically we are not using, not talking, not promoting this type of majority identity type of politics. So this was a strategy which has been used by the Romanian politicians, mainstream type of politicians, in order to show to the Europeans that Romania is an important actor. geopolitical, geostrategical actor. So for us, it was very clear that it's a fake type of framing Romanian politics, because 30-40% of the people, even more, have been associated with different type of values.
It never happened that over 11 million Romanians went to vote. You didn't have any queues, you didn't have any lines at voting stations. We asked for the identity of these 3 million people, because we were in the position to be an electoral competitor, disadvantaged by the elections. We weren't allowed to check the 3 million people. So, like other countries, they stole not at the counting of the votes, but with multiple persons that voted multiple times.
I'm not talking about political parties, I'm talking about values. So at that time, so Romania was on the surface a very clean, very peaceful country, but underground was completely different. And suddenly this guy, Mr. Georgescu, appeared, and the people it was completely unknown. I mean, unknown in sociological terms, but he appeared in the presidential elections, and the people jumped to vote for these candidates. Almost unknown candidate, because that candidate had been associated with the values which the people share. And suddenly, coming from nowhere, this guy, becoming the most important contender for the position of the president. So,
but they expelled him from the elections.
Yeah.
And accuse him that he is pro-Russian?
Well, it happened because the mood in Romanian society was different. The European mood is different, I would say. Now we are during a war, and in the war you can do whatever you want, basically. And this is at least what Brussels is trying to suggest.
They are ignoring democracy, they are ignoring the vote from the parliamentary elections. All the parties collided against us, and this is the situation in the Romanian parliament, in the Romanian political scene, and basically this is the situation across Europe. We are here in Prague at this international conference, and across Europe parties like ours are gaining momentum. We are 40 to 42% in the polling and in the polls, but everybody else from the political parties are colliding, are teaming up against us.
And then Georgescu supported Mr. Simion.
Yeah, I supported Mr. Simion because Simion was the only candidate. I mean, at that time, basically our party was there, but Mr. Georgescu was after sort of Jesus Christ of politics, the second coming, because it was unknown, not attached to Romanian politics, was coming from nowhere, and it's very, very popular. And and Mr. Georgescu somehow helped Mr. Simion to get in the second round and to get a very good performance, politically speaking.
Why are they so afraid of you? Of course, even if you read Wikipedia or some sources, you are called a right extremist.
Of course, we have the same labels as far right, because we are extremely right. In classical terms, we are a right-wing party. But in Europe and across the world in the last years, the right-wing parties went a lot to the left. So now to smear us, like they did with President Trump, like they are doing with other political parties like Fratelli d'Italia, like Fidesz, like Law and Justice, they are labeling us as far-right. If we would obey to Brussels, to the European Commission, to Ursula von der Leyen, we would have been considered a center-right party, probably. This happened in Hungary, in the neighboring country. I saw this example with Jobbik, who were a party basically of skinheads. And when they joined the coalition with the parties that are against Viktor Orban, they became a center-right party. You cannot do this. This is senseless. People are seeing it, and this is why they are contesting the establishment in EU level. We are a party that supports the idea of a united Europe, of the European Union, but not like this.
But do you believe that EU as an institution has really the possibility to change so drastically, to be a conservative institution, or you just have to remove Brussels and establish Europe from anew?
We are in favor of the European Union as an economic space, but not. We are not pledging for European Union that takes the power from the nation states. This is not what we signed up for. Romania, like Bulgaria, is a country where people wanted to be part of the West, of the Western civilization, of the free world. But nobody told us that we will have to renounce our national sovereignty, we'll have to renounce our national currency, to give up our identity. So I am in favor of united Europe. I understand the dangers coming from the East, but still I consider the European project a project of sovereign nations.
Do you personally think that he won the elections actually? That he is the real president?
Well, this is what it is. I mean, he's not the real president. Maybe he's the legitimate president, you could argue. But honestly, I don't understand. So, sorry, speaking for me, it's very difficult to understand how comes. I mean, it was basically 21. I mean, it's unbelievable. We've got this type of elections, but the difference was not that relevant. Never been that relevant. 10%, 11%. 21 is huge. I mean, even at a psychological level, 41, it's more than 40, right? It's a psychological level was, yeah. I'm not saying that people are happy in Romania, not very happy. Unfortunately, Romania is a split country, unfortunately. But, well, this is what it is. It's not a consolation. But unfortunately, Europe, from a political point of view, doesn't look very good.
What do you mean when you say the dangers coming from the East? Is that Russia? Is that China? And what is your stance in the Ukraine-Russia conflict?
Basically, always there was a war for being the strongest in the geopolitical war. So, of course, the competitors now are for the first place against the United States are China and more or less in the last years Russia. But we as Eastern European countries have been affected by the Russian danger, by the Russian occupations, even if this meant the Tsarist Empire or who stole half of Moldavia, the Moldavia that we have today as Republic of Moldavia, more or less. The Soviet Union and the current Russian Federation of Vladimir Putin. So of course we feel this threat, and we are comfortable with being part of NATO as a defensive alliance, protecting our countries from the danger that the Russian Federation today is posing.
But at the same time, Călin Georgescu, who joined your party, was acclaimed to be pro-Russian.
You cannot trust the liberal media, basically. Călin Georgescu is not part of AUR party. He was an independent candidate, but he's very close to us because he won the presidential elections. Călin Georgescu had pro-Romanian stances. So it's hard for anyone who goes to government, to be president, to be prime minister, to be allowed by the EU establishment, Emmanuel Macron, Ursula von der Leyen, and the powers that stand behind them, to accept a political leader that wants what's best first for its country. But Donald Trump started a wave of putting your nation first. It's time for patriots, not for globalists, the famous speech from the UN Assembly. And of course, from America to European nations to Japan, the recent example, started more and more movements that put their country first, without being afraid to other countries. Because in this moment, I don't know exact situation in Bulgaria, but in this moment, Romania is put on the left place by our government. And this is upsetting, and this is what we must repair.
I think that the war in Ukraine is not about Ukrainians or Ukraine. For Europeans, and I can understand that, I'm not agree with this, but they understand they are a very weak power, they don't count at the global level, and they are using the war in Ukraine and the fears of the people like a sort of substitute for the coal and steel, after the Second World War. Then they put the community together, coal and steel, Germany and France. And now they are using the fears and the war in order to set up a sort of European federation to centralize politics and the government, because we are in a war. And they are using the hybrid thing in order to block or to control the political or civic positions. We are not mainstream. Because if you are not mainstream, you are part of the hybrid war. So they can do it, and they will do it. And I think my feeling is that the EU will not stop behaving like that, even if the war will be stopped in Ukraine. They will continue to get this position that we are in a cold war with the Russians in order to promote the same type of attitude. Because if you are in a war, you can do whatever you want, politically speaking. So this is the path EU has chosen, and Georgescu was a victim of this attitude. He was a victim of this attitude. Remember that at that time, Mr. Trump has been elected, but the administration was the Biden administration, and the Biden administration supported that. And the only chance the Romanian supporter of Mr. Georgescu got now is that Madame Tulsi will somehow get to the files or dossiers of Mr. Blinken and try to set up the meddling of the Biden administration into Romanian elections. So, because you cannot expect that Romania this issue will be settled, but the supporters of Georgescu, this is what they're waiting for Biden administration to come back to the Romanian file, so to speak.
NATO, you said that NATO as a defensive union you're very fond of it, and they're building one of the biggest base, if not the biggest one in Europe, in Constanța.
Yes.
Right now. So, will they not somehow provoke Russia that way?
It depends. You must make a stance and you must defend your sovereignty if you have the methods. Having a military base for your allies in your country is not a provocation. I strongly support, especially in the situation Romania is now, we don't have any defensive means. We cannot defend ourselves, being shattered, destroyed, and being in a weaker position. We are a smaller nation than Russia. We want defensive military bases of our allies. And I say it depends, because clearly some of the actions taken by Joe Biden and his administration were provocative, but the political stances that we agree with Donald Trump are the right ones. We cannot be in the situation of Ukraine where another power comes with tanks and bombs and occupies part of your territory. We were occupied before in this method, so the American and NATO bases in Romania are a guarantee for us that we will not be split into 2 or 3 parts like we were in our history.
My understanding is that Trump election was a revolution, and everything's changed in US, the way in which we legitimize the politics, the way in which we choose our presidents, and the values which are associated with the mainstream. But in Romania, Europe, in this respect, it's a reactionary. It's a reactionary continent. They are like monarchists in 18th century. The monarchists, they were looking at the liberals and say, how could you dare to think politics in a different way? Without the monarch, without the king, is not so. And now the liberals are becoming monarchists. They are reactionaries, and in a very, 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 very bizarre way, if you want. I mean, the conservatives now, they are becoming the progressists, because they are challenging the mainstream type of understanding politics. And the mainstream is saying that this is the only way in which you can look at the politics, the only way to imagine the legitimization of politicians. It's individual freedom, non-community, not Gemeinschaft, only Gesellschaft. Forget about communities, religion, identities, national identities. These are things of the past. But this is a genuine revolution which is going on in Europe. Yeah, Mr. George was a victim of this war, but this is a political war which is going on. And yeah, we'll see what will happen.
Maybe as a last question, just connected with Bulgaria, a part of the northern sea coast in Bulgaria, which was part of Romania in the past. Călin Georgescu said that it should be returned or something like that.
I think the Bulgarian people should not be scared, should not be afraid. We do not want your territories. Wars are a matter of the past. We are not revendicating your territories, as well as I'm sure that you are not revendicating our territories. We must do more for cooperation between our people. We must build bridges, and I must be in favor of the stances your transport minister and vice prime minister has on the bridges that we must build, on the connections we must build between Romania and Bulgaria. And nobody is looking towards the past, but towards the future. Since the Asen dynasty, we knew how to work together, and we were a force. We should stop the humiliation that some are trying to address to our nations. You can see the Schengen zone admission, which was a total embarrassment for our countries. We should cooperate more in our zone, because if we are stronger and we collaborate more, we can defend our positions. Enemies are not in our zone, but enemies are the ones who want to conquer small nations like ours. Thank you.
Thank you also.